So my wife and I are two professionals. I'm a business professor. My wife's a veterinarian, and we have two kids. And what I've learned now, my kids are getting quite a bit older at this moment, but they're still teenagers. But what I've realized is that in order to do this successful, we do more of the juggling thing. Is that you have to get used to just having your life interrupted all of the time. And it's not because that um, you can't plan things. It's because there's all sorts of weird things that happen that just interrupt your day. And I understand why it is often the easiest sort of advisable setup to have like one working parent. Normally it's the dude um, and somebody that stays at home because of all of these kind of weird interruptions that happen all of the time. But what I've and it's every week there is something that is going on. It's you know, somebody's got an appointment, somebody gets sick, um, and it's not necessarily anything that you can anticipate. And you just kind of have to get used to these moments actually happening and just kind of rolling with the punches. And it's a different setup, I think, than, conventionally, where there was one person that was dedicated uh, to to doing, the work. And I think it's even really different than say 100, 200 years ago, where families. So 100, 200 years ago, yeah, mom would have to stay at home. But she would also have to be looking after the farm and doing all those kind of things, so looking after the farm. But what's different is that there wasn't nearly the pressures or demands that were put um, on people to, to be a good parent, right? Like, um, most people would be letting their kids kind of roam free at the age of 4 at that moment and just kind of letting them figure it out compared to, um, compared to what is normal, or what is expected today. Today, we're expected to kind of be really hovery with parenting, like helicopter parenting, which, like, if people would see how we parent today from, you know, uh, 60 years ago compared to today, they would say, oh my gosh, you have to do all of these kind of things, all of the being on top of it, doing all these kind of responsibilities. And it's, sociologically, it's just because we kind of fill the voids, right? So maybe we have access to better technologies that make our life a lot easier, but then we sort of fill this space with all these kind of things of what it means to be good parents. And if you don't do those things, then you could you could easily get blacklisted or some sort of social sanction for being inappropriate as a parent. And anybody that's a parent understands these sort of moments that happen where people look at you and are like, oh, you know, I'm doing something wrong because I'm letting my kids stay at home for a brief moment. um, when we kind of, there's been a couple of moments where we're like, okay, this is a little dicey, but you kind of have to do what you have to do, um, and make sure that you, you, you just get by with us that are sort of going through and putting things together as a family. We're trying to do our best, but sometimes you have to make a judgment call, what is, most appropriate. And so what you're going to notice is that you're going to have a tremendous amount of a, just kind of just being used to a tremendous amount of interruptions. I talk about that a lot, right? Like that's how I've been able to be a full-time professor. Um, and as well as build this platform, the whole reciprocity platform, where I'm trying to create non-rejectable research papers and make sure it's really, really fun when you're actually doing that. Um, but and as well as raise kids, right? So one of them is just getting used to the just interruptions happening all the time and being like, okay, all right, we're just gonna go with this. This is gonna happen. But the other thing that you're gonna experience a lot as you do this is, two working professionals kind of managing this life, which I think is becoming increasingly more normal. I think we were pretty our for us in our generation, me and my wife were pretty cutting edge with this. There's not too many people that sort of balance this. Um, and then we're very egalitarian in how we manage things. And my wife probably does a little bit more, um, just because there's social pressure, I think, for her to do more than there is for me. And it's social pressure that's more put on herself than it is um, that we actually need to do these things. And it's more of just styles at that moment. I'm more of a laid back person and I want to encourage a lot more um, you know, the our kids to actually do something on their own. So I'm much more laid back, but my wife is much more on the ball um than I am. And it's not necessarily kind of these sort of gender specific roles. It's just, our personalities. If you knew us, you'd understand what I'm actually talking about. Right? But what 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 the key thing is with all of this is learning to just roll with the punches. There's all sorts of interruptions that happen, and it's repeated all of the time that there's always these interruptions, but also be okay with violating norms once in a while, right? Like, doing things that are uncomfortable, people looking at you like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that." Um, the easiest one, the most simplest one is bringing your kids into work every once in a while. Um, that is very typical with us. Um, I don't bring my kids into work. What I'll do is I'll stay at home. And when the kids were small, when they were less than, 10, it meant a lot more interruptions because they just wanted to be around us, to be honest. I think that that's actually being a good parent when they want to be around, and they feel very secure. Uh, but all of these things is just to expect when you're doing this, just expect that everything is kind of up in the air every day. And there is no right way of doing something. There's no wrong way of doing it. It just is what it is. Um, and what I've learned, what I've been working on, I'm still not good at this because it's ingrained in me. Is give myself a lot of self forgiveness. Um, and that's been a very difficult working thing for our our family collectively. Um, how we deal with things. I am more inward focused. I get sad. I really go down that route or sort of I internalize. My wife is very different. She gets more edgy and agitated and externalize the sort of stressors that happen. But we're working on and doing a poor job of it, working on managing this as, more for me, it's all about self-forgiveness, just being like, it's gonna be okay. And we're doing the best that we possibly can. And the more that we work at this, the better off it actually is. I hope my wife's doing that. We deal with these things a little bit differently, but for me, it's always this self-forgiveness of, I'm doing the best I possibly can. I can't get to it, then that's fine as well. It's disappointing, but that is the nature of balancing a complicated, messy family that we actually have. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.